Let's take a look at how we can draw in Illustrator using some of the drawing tools. There are a number of ways that you can draw in Illustrator, but let me introduce you to some of the basic tools. To begin with, I'm going to turn on my underlying grid because this will make it a little bit easier for me to explain how to use the pen tool. In order to turn on the grid, you'll go to View, Show Grid, or use the keyboard shortcut of Command or Control, comma. Now that we have the grid showing, I'm going to select my pen tool. The pen tool allows you to create paths using anchor points and handles. When you have the pen tool, if you click your mouse, you're going to lay down an anchor point. If you reposition your mouse and click again, you're going to lay down another anchor point. When you lay down anchor points, you're going to be creating straight line segments. So if I continue to click here, you'll see that I'm making a straight lined type of shape. If you want to make a closed shape, you need to return to the original point, and you'll see that right in the lower portion of the pen tool, there's a little circle. This indicates that you're going to be creating a closed path. It is worth noting that when you're drawing with the pen tool, it can be a little confusing to be drawing with a filled color. So I'm just going to go to my fill and change my fill to none. If you want to draw curved line segments, you're going to click, hold, and drag. When we click, hold, and drag, we drag out Bezier handles. So I'm going to drag handles that are about halfway up the grid. I'll come over here to the next main grid segment and I'll click, hold, and drag down. And again, I'm just dragging about halfway down. When you click, hold, and drag, you can think of it as following through with a throw. The direction in which you pull the handle is the direction that the curve is going to continue to draw in. So you can see if I want to draw this humped type shape, I'm going to drag down to create a downward pointing hump. And then if I want to create a hump that is in the opposite direction, I'm going to drag up. Now sometimes you'll want to draw shapes that are going to be a combination of curved and straight line segments. In order to create a straight line segment while you're dragging with the curved portion, you need to go back to the last point and click it. This will suck the handle in that is on the opposite side of the curve. And now I've changed to my straight line segment. It also is worth mentioning that you can hold down your Shift key to constrain the position of the anchor points and the handles to be on a straight plane. If we want to now draw another curved line segment, we're going to click, hold, and drag to drag out the handle. Remember that the direction in which the handle is pointing is the direction in which the curve is going to go. So if I drag to the right and I start to draw a curve, you'll see that depending on where I put my next point, the curve is dragging to the right. Now, because my next point is over farther to the right, if I click, hold, and drag, you can see that the next curve is going to continue to kind of make half of a U type of shape. Sometimes you'll want to continue to draw with the handles, but you want to break the handles. If you want to break the handles, you're going to hold down your Option or Alt key, and you can go ahead and break the handle. So I'm going to go ahead and point the handle down. Now if I come to the next area of my shape and I click, hold, and drag up, you're going to see that my curve is going to make a swoop in this direction. Let's break the handle again. And then I'll come to this next point and click, hold, and drag up. And you'll see what I begin to create is I create a shape that is going to be a series of U's, if you will. If you want to just end your drawing, you'll need to Command or Control click. This will end your drawing session. So this particular path is an open path. The original path that we made is a closed path. In addition to being able to draw with the pen tool, we also have a tool called the Curvature tool. This allows you to create curved and straight lines in the same sort of fashion. So if I select this tool, it's going to work a little bit differently. And sometimes people find this tool to be easier. If you are a longtime pen user, this tool will take a little bit of time to grasp, but I encourage you to try both so you can see which one is going to work best. With the Curvature pen tool, if you want to draw straight line segments, you need to double click. Then when you make your next point, you would double click, and you would continue to double click, and this will allow you to make these straight line segments. If you don't double click, if you just click and move your mouse to a new location, you'll see that it looks like you're making a straight line segment. But when I lay down my third point, you can see that I've made a curved segment. So if I come down here to this existing intersection in my grid and I just click, it's going to actually create a circular type of shape, as you can see right here. When you're drawing with this Curvature pen tool, as you click and lay down your points, if you decide that you mess up, you can just go back to one of the points and reposition it in a new location. So while you're still in the midst of drawing, you can make changes. If I now wanted to switch to a straight line segment, I would simply double click on this particular point, and now I'm drawing the straight line segments. Now once again, because I didn't double click here, my next point is going to want to make a curved point. If I didn't want the curve to be there, I would need to double click and then lay down my next point and double click. So double clicking allows you to create the straight line segments. When you simply single click, Illustrator assumes that you want to create a curved type of shape. So as you can see, this tool works a little bit differently than the pen tool. Once again, if you want to end your drawing, you would simply hold down your Command or Control key, and then you can just click away from the path, and that will end the drawing. What's going to help you to learn either of these tools in the most optimal way is to practice tracing something. If you have an element that you want to draw or to trace, the best thing to do is to just do it with these tools. I've already brought in a file, and if we look, here's the layer that I'm drawing on. This contains the shapes that we just were working on. If I go ahead and turn on my octo layer, you can see that I have an octopus type of shape. So what I'm going to do with this octo layer is I'm going to select the octopus using my selection tool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into an outline. You can do that by going to View, Outline, or using Command or Control Y. This will take the vector shape and simply turn it into an outline. I'm also going to turn off my grid by using my keyboard shortcut of Command or Control, comma. Now what I'll do is I'll lock this layer. I'm going to create a new layer, and this will be the layer that I'm going to draw on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this path as a template for what I want to draw. I'll begin by grabbing either my Curvature tool or my pen tool, and sometimes you may want to switch in between the two. With the Curvature tool, I'm going to start by clicking this point right here. Now I'll move to the edge of the octopus and click again. When I come to the top of the octopus, you can see that I'm drawing this curved line segment. Now, if the segment is not perfect, you can always go back and grab one of these points and adjust the position of the point. You'll also have the option later to make modifications to your shape. So if it doesn't look exactly right, we can always make a change. I'm going to click to the next point, and then I'll come down here to this ending corner section. I'm going to click once again. Now I'm going to double click because I want to try to change the direction. Now to make these little humps, I find it a little difficult personally to use the Curvature tool. I find that the Curvature tool works best when we're dealing with bigger types of shapes. If you want to have more precision, I find that it's a little bit easier to use the regular pen tool. So while you're drawing, you can always switch to the regular pen tool. So now I've switched. I'm going to come to the point that I just made, and I want to drag out the handles. So I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key to drag out the handles. Then I can begin by dragging out the next shape. Now for this particular octopus, I'm going to just make its head one shape, and then we'll go ahead and we'll make the legs separate shapes. So I'm going to continue to click, hold, and drag, and then I'll lay my mouse down at the next location. Now remember, if the path that you draw does not exactly line up with what you're trying to do, you can always go back and edit it later. So I'm just going to complete drawing this shape of the octopus head. And once I'm done, I can now go back and I'll use the white arrow tool or the direct selection tool. The direct selection tool is going to give you access to the points and the handles so that you can grab the handles and adjust their position and ensure that the drawing that you've made is going to line up and mimic the original shape that you're trying to trace. The more you practice drawing with these tools, the easier the tools get. The other thing that I wanted to show you is let's go ahead and turn on our grid one more time. I'm going to use the grid to draw a perfect circle, and we'll just do this using our curvature tool. So once again, I'm going to lay down a point. I'll come up here and lay down my next point. Then I'll come here and put the third point. Here's my fourth point, and then I'm just going to simply click to close my shape. So now I have a perfect circle. If we select our direct selection tool, we can go ahead and we can modify this shape. So if I select any of these points, I can click, hold, and drag and reposition where they are. Now remember what I told you earlier. Sometimes you might want to break the handles. By default, the handles work like a seesaw. So if one handle gets pulled up, the other handle gets pulled down. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to drag this point down, and then I'm going to break the handles. So I'm going to hold down my Option key and grab the handle on the right and drag it up. Once the handle has been broken, I can grab the adjoining handle, and I don't have to hold down the Option or Alt key. It's already been broken. Now I'm going to grab this bottom point. I'm going to click, hold, and drag it down. And what I want to do here is I want to change this from a curved point to a corner point. We can do that by switching to the anchor point tool, which is located underneath the pen tool. I'm going to tear this off. With the pen tool, we have a plus anchor point, which adds anchor points, a minus anchor point, which deletes anchor points, and then we have this anchor point tool or convert anchor point tool. If we use this tool and we just click on a curved point, you'll see how it changes it to a corner point. And now from this circle, you can see that I've created a heart type of shape. This is just a quick overview of how you can use the pen and the curvature tool. It will take practice to be able to use these tools so that you can create exactly what you want. But what I recommend is that you take time to find something to trace or to draw and just begin using the tools. The more you use them, the easier it will be.